footage. Hopefully it all goes well. You can see it's not off yet. I know you can't see, but it's not off yet. I just wanted to recap on getting to this point. So here is a log of hours spent on different days. It was a bit inaccurate to start with because I wasn't logging it day by day. I had to kind of remember. The total, I think, so 37 hours so far to get to this point. So a working week, I suppose you could put it. Although I think it would have been faster if it was a working week, because then you get the full kind of time on it. Although had to get parts and bits in between, you know, tools. So maybe not. But 37 hours, probably could do it in half the time if I did it again. Kind of obviously, because I know where everything is now. So there we go, that's ours. And then this is the box of bits. It's reasonably heavy. We're up to 48. Last thing to go in was the clutch fixing for the line on the chassis. So that's just goes into the box near the pedal box in the driver's footwell. So that's just the fastener for that. So that was the last thing to go in. The cat shield bolts, had to take that off to get to the handbrake, so that was 47, etc, etc. I'm sure I probably can remember them all at this point, but I'm definitely not going to do that on video, going through all of them. So that's filled a Rose's tin more than to the top. I don't think I'll be able to put the lid on that anymore. And then if I just take you, there's also this kind of rack of bits. So the only things on the floor are the battery and the cat shield, and then there's this, most of which is the airbox, pedal box cover, some hoses, battery line, steering arm that I knackered, that kind of thing. Obviously there's one seat here and there's one over there as well. They're not in great condition anyway, don't worry about them being on their side. I'm not rubbing them against the floor or anything. And then in here there's some bits that were already in the boot, so they're still there. And then in here there's all the stuff that I took off the centre console. So there is a fair number of bits required to make a body off. Hopefully I haven't missed anything. We're about to find out, as we need to lower this onto some axle stands so that the chassis has got something to sit on before we see, first of all, whether the arms even reach into the wheel wells, because I'm a little worried when they're at full extension, they're just going to hit on this bodywork here before they go in under the wheel well. And there's quite a long way to go up there, so yeah, we'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to be as easy as it looks. But here was my fear. That's how long the arm is. And you can see that to try and swing that in there, can't, because that's where the bodywork is. And bigger fear, actually, from my point of view, is that it doesn't really reach the centre of the wheel well. The ideal would be to reach the centre of the wheel well so that you can lift, because you want to lift up here in the arch. I mean, there's a big gap here, right? Here's the lip. My hand goes all the way up there to get into there, onto the main kind of plastic of the body. So quite a long way to go there. On the front, let's put this back in a sec. Hold on, let me just look, make sure I've got it. No. There we go. That's as far as the front arm goes. So that one, pull this out to move it. That one, that's as far as it can go, really. That one's much more towards the centre, which is good. So at least some of it's to the centre. But again, we've got the bodywork clearance issue. It can't go all the way in. And that's because this is a narrow lift, right? So between the posts is only about, I don't know, 2.5 meters or something like that. Whereas a big pro lift, you know, a tall one, has about 3 meters behind, which means that then the arms are more like this, instead of being more kind of like that, which is what my arms are. So they'd reach in better. This isn't bad though, but I wouldn't want to be doing it up on the rim here. You want to do it on the main body. Let's have a look around, see where I'm up to. I don't know whether Automotive, where this lift is from, sell these any kind of extension pieces, or whether such things do exist before I actually build them. So I'll do a little bit of research later. But that's where we are for now. Car's on axle stands. It's ready for the body to be lifted off, I believe. Just don't quite have the ability to using the lift, and I'm not trying to get 8 friends around to lift it off. That is braver than I am. I'd rather do it very slowly using the lift and fashion some stuff up so this all fits. So it's been a while due to work commitments and various other things. I just haven't been in the garage very much, so we're not that much further ahead. I did talk to Automotive, who very kindly let me borrow one of these. Whoa, it's quite a beast. What it's designed for is on a 2-post lift. Let's see if I can just slot this in here. It's designed to just slot in there like that, maybe a little bit further down, and then pick up the wheel, the actual, turn it a bit, the actual wheel itself when it's on, so that you can store a car without having the suspension drooping down all the time. And he suggested maybe this could be a good solution for lifting the body. The thing I don't like about it is that, well, there's things to like, but it spreads the load across 2 things. That's probably the only good thing. But then it's metal against this arch lip, which I'm not too wild about. And because it sticks inwards, it kind of sticks up into here, and I feel like it'll scrape in here as you lift, and it'll be imbalanced a bit. You know, it's not, there's no like bracketry or stuff holding it down. So I think I've decided against that one. You could put like a metal bracket across it and then try and attach that to it or something, or, you know, make a whole device. But I feel like I'm just overthinking it at that point. Okay, let's put this back. Don't hit the Integra. However, I did revisit the comments in the club, well, the forum, the group, that's what I'm looking for. And I looked up Ed China's video where he takes a Chimera body off, and he simply just puts the pad in, puts the pad on the edge here, as someone pointed out in the forum, and that's soft enough. And he said that this is strong enough because of all these curves here, and it's not a steel piece, it's 1-piece kind of fiberglass body. It should be strong enough to lift it, and he didn't have any worries about that, and he chucks it straight up. So maybe I am overthinking it, and that might be what I'll try right now. As I said before, these arms are quite short on the body, quite shallow, should I say. So it might look like there's not a lot on there, and that should be a worry. And it is a worry, quite frankly. But when you look underneath, it is a solid metal pad. So there is quite a lot of surface area where it's on the pad and it's been spread. These rear ones are worse. You know, it's not quite halfway through the pad, but from underneath, you can see it's a lot better. There's a lot more metal there. Front ones are slightly better. So I've started to move it a little bit, and there's lots of stuff dropping on the floor. Lots of stuff dropping on the floor. But I think it is starting to lift. I'll try and put the camera in a position now where you can see it lifting, hopefully. Still a little bit worried about it slipping off, but I'd be just as worried about wood, that kind of thing. So seems all right so far, actually. So This is what I was worried about, this pipe here, because it looked like it wasn't going to clear, but it seems like it shot past. And that must be, you can feel there's hard body there, but it seems to have cleared it okay. Hopefully it hasn't damaged it. Everything else looks okay. I did forget to fold the power steering thing back in. There was also another thing I was worried about that I'll show you in a second, which is there's a suspension, this arm. I don't know whether you can see this arm here. There's a bolt that kind of goes through a hole in the body, and I forgot about it before I started lifting it up. And that's kind of done, looks like it's done a little bit of damage to the hole, but I'll show you that in a minute and you can see. Body feels really solid though on the, even though it's not quite on the lift arms enough. The front's heavy. No, I don't know which is heavier, but at least these are properly in. Those two, not so much at the back. That one didn't sound good. Okay, I think we're clear. Okay, so let's look from the top. So we've cleared all this here. Interesting noise. We've cleared all this here, so that's fine. Power steering thing's now down there underneath the body, which is good. You can see how high we are off the frame. So my main worry was around the exhaust manifold here. That was making some interesting noises, particularly as it cleared here. I hope that's not like cracked it or anything. I think when putting it back on, it'll be interesting to know whether I should shave this a bit more, I think, just to ensure clearance. This corner of the engine as well. Oh, that one looked really close. See if I can zoom in. It looks like it was quite close. You see it ripped the, where's my finger? Come on, finger, where are you? Wait. It ripped the foil a little bit here, but not much really in comparison to how much is there, so it can't have been catching all that much. So that looks okay. Down here, just to give a different view. God, let me zoom out of it. Obviously it's got quite high now, well off the chassis. We can see just how tall off the chassis we are now, which is pretty cool, I think. And we can start to see the top of these. I mean, that doesn't look good. I don't think that looks very good either. Yeah. We've got a huge look at that. Any doubt whether this needed to be off? There's the proof, and that is not good. That is a freaking huge hole. So look at the corrosion of that. And then this here, that's some pretty bad corrosion. Wouldn't be surprised if that knocked through if I got a screwdriver on it. But it's all kind of immaterial compared to this bad boy. Look at the state of it. Okay, let's continue around. This side, not so bad. I mean, it is the near and the. Oh no, this is the guttery side, isn't it? So you'd think this would get more crap, but and it wouldn't be worse than the other side. I mean, it still doesn't look good. This bit here. I mean, look at that. That doesn't look good. That looks better than the other side though, and this certainly looks a lot better. See all the way through now. Pretty cool. I was just fannying about with this. I mean, I'm still not very happy with this. but it won't stay on there for long because I'm going to get I've got a pallet outside, I'll show you that later, and some casters. And we'll get this lifted off, we'll get the wheels on, we'll get the jack stands out, we'll try and somehow wheel that out, even though I've got a gravel drive out there. So that's not going to be easy with no steering. Anyway, think about that later. Let's continue the chassis tour. So we've got, this isn't bad. Oh, but this isn't great. Oh, let's get in there. It's a lot of delamination, that is. It's not good. Not good, but it's still not as bad as that other corner. So, you know, quite a lot of it's okay, but that corner is utterly mullered. So, we just return to that just for giggles. I mean, this isn't, I still don't like this corner either. I didn't like that corner to start with because look, it's dented here. You see, I don't think you can see actually, it's quite hard to. That angle, you can see it a bit better. Just here, there's like a dent in it. Like a ridge, a bump. Looks weird. Yeah. Get my whole finger in there. Wouldn't pass an MOT now, would it? All right, let's maybe get a bit higher. Then I'll think about getting it out, doing the pallet and the casters and all that kind of stuff. Teg's gonna have to live outside for a bit because I need to put the body over here really. That would be the ideal so that I can work on the chassis. Wow, I was gonna say work on the chassis on the lift. I suppose that would still be more useful, but to get the suspension off. Yeah, it's still better to be in the air and all the different things that need to come off the chassis, even if we junk the chassis because it's just not repairable. But I'll talk to some chassis people about that and then we'll go from there. Do you like my banner, by the way? It's quite nice, isn't it? Probably going to need that £7 or £13 or whatever that banner was. Now we've looked at the chassis. Okay. I knew there was something I was forgetting, and it's pretty obvious. Exhaust hangers. I saw them a few days ago and I was like, I need to get the exhaust hangers off. And yet I've pulled this like, I don't know, a foot in the air now, really pulling on those rubbers. And the only reason I just realised is I heard a rubber kind of going, So back down we go for a bit, I think. And so I can get the tension off those instead of just cutting them. And then we'll go from there. So there's a heck of a lot of tension on those actually. So I imagine I've knackered the weld of the exhaust, but anyway, we'll look at that later. Because look, there it is. I've lowered the body a bit just to get a bit of tension off it, but still, it dropped all the way down here. Right, this is the hanger. I used to use tin snips in the end to go through it because there was no way it was coming off. So I'll need to get some replacement ones of those. But then it just really dropped. So it'll be. Maybe there's quite a lot of flex in that pipe down to the cats actually. Don't know, but anyway, there's a lot of tension on it. So now it's dropped. So I didn't want to lower the body past the manifold again, so I didn't. Okay. There you have it, folks. I'm amazed at how strong that is. I couldn't not record this view. It's a crazy view, man. A big hole and an engine underneath and a chassis. Shouldn't be able to see that much through. Still, there we are. This is what's going on. It's exciting. Big stage. Journey has only just begun though, as many people have already told me. So my plan, rightly or wrongly, I have a big pallet here, I've had it for ages. I've been outside a fair bit, but I have tested it. So I'm going to put these big wheels on it, decent reviews on Amazon, 150 kilograms a corner. So I figured that's more than enough for a Tuscan body. It's quite thick. Hopefully they'll wheel quite nicely. Who knows how I'm going to get it out onto the gravel drive and in here, and I don't know. But for now, let's not worry too much about that. Let's worry about putting these here or somewhere. I'll figure that out. And then probably into the block as much as possible, but I just got to avoid these nails. And then we should be able to wheel it in any direction. All right. Big screws, bigger head, much better. Soon see whether that works. One other thing that didn't work out as expected, that I've only just noticed, is this wire for the reversing light. I did disconnect it from in here, but it caught on the insulation because I didn't make a hole big enough for it to get out of. So that wire just then was really taut down here. So I've probably pulled it a little bit in some way, but I just kind of made a bigger hole and it popped out again. Just something to make a note of. So I've just popped the wheels back on so that we can jack it up, get it off its axle stands, and maybe we can move it to the other side and then see what we can do. The issue is, don't know whether you can see much from there, gravel drive, and particularly this bit here. You can't see it here, but it's like so much deeper. And over here is kind of quite flat ground, but that's the way I've got to go. So that's why it's taking a little bit of manpower to get it moved. I'll put this somewhere else, see whether you can see better. Okay, you're in the way now. Nearly there. That'll do, pig. That'll do. That was hard work. If only I didn't have a gravel drive. But you know, do have a big double garage with a lift. So maybe I should just get a grip and a bit of sweat on a hot day. Maybe that's okay. Just a couple of things to catch up on. My phone ran out of battery, so this is a problem. This is one of the spacers that hold those front chassis bolts on. You remember I sheared one off? If I hold that towards the sun, you can see just how much bolt there is in there, how much rust. Unbelievable. And if I go to the front, just to show you. Not in the greatest of shape. It's basically welded itself on. Another thing I noticed, back here on this, which goes into the boot, this has come off, just delaminated. That's meant to go there. It's quite a thick piece, that, so yeah, more evidence that this chassis might be toast, but let's see. And then one other thing you might remember is that I couldn't get off these guys, so I snipped them. So I've got two of them off, no worries, just with a 11/16 socket or whatever it was, 7/16, I don't know, the imperial socket anyway. And then this one was completely rounded off, but look, it's loose. Now you see all those kind of marks, those teeth marks, that was this. Now the experienced among you will know these twist sockets. So this is the 11mm or whatever it's called. Can't find it now. Typical, right on the inside. 7/16, so I was right, an 11mm version. Just tapped it on. Didn't seem like it was holding, so I pushed it on, held it on. Sure enough, it broke it loose. So these little twist socket set, recommend to anyone. I had them anyway for some other reason. I don't remember them working the first time, but this time I am dead pleased about that, because that last one being a nightmare just because I rounded it off. What a pain in the butt. Right, I'll get the rest of this off and then maybe. Actually, I was dead wrong about this. Watch that middle bit of hose. Cock. It's just detached from the block body. Just sheared off. That's how tight that one was. No wonder it was turning. Right then, my friends. I've got the dolly underneath. I've just vacuumed up underneath as well, so that we've got relatively clean surface under there. We're going to drop the body onto this little pallet. We're going to see whether it's okay, but I definitely want it off these edges. It's fine. I mean, it just goes to show the quality of Automotics pads here. There's been no creaking, no nothing, but just prefer it to be on the ground. And then, I don't know, swap them back. I don't think I will actually. I think I'll just put this up on axle stands and just work on it that way instead of having it on the lift over here, because that require a lot of swapping, a lot of gravel work, and I just don't really want that. Plus, chassis is likely to be toast, so let's see. I'll put you on some. It moves. Pretty cool, eh? I've had a bit of a vacuum. So let's have a tour of this chassis from kind of front to back. So the exhausts, a little bit of blow there, I reckon. I haven't actually seen the hole yet, but looks like it's blown, doesn't it? Big soot patch there, not present on the other side. This cover's obviously pretty dirty. I haven't unhooked it yet, but you can see underneath we've got a little bit of surface corrosion, but nothing too bad. That diff looks absolutely toasty though. Doesn't look in the best condition, does it? But the chassis itself around here, it's not too bad really. Isn't too surprising, it's in the middle of the car, quite far away from anything. Obviously when we come down this side, we've already seen the horror that is that kind of, you know, huge finger-sized hole there. And just that whole mounting point is out. Here, it's not, well, it's better. But I mean, better is all relative in this case. You know, you've got quite a lot of serious delamination here. Not convinced about that either. So this is by far the worst bit. If we move a bit further down, in fact, let's get a screwdriver. Let's have a bit of tapping, live tapping. Never hurt anyone, did it? More solid than maybe it looked. This one, I think obviously you've got this outer layer that is crusty, but that's mainly just paint, I hope. Pretty solid. So that's not as bad as it looks, maybe. The question is that corner really. I'll talk to some chassis people, and if they feel like they can't repair it, then, you know, toast. But no point looking at the rest of it. This batch tray, pedal box cover, not in the best condition again. We've got some serious delamination going on. I mean, that is, if that comes off, that is, it's quite thick. So yeah, I'm not too convinced about this area. You can see some pretty serious delamination there. But again, you know, I don't know how thick the paint was on these versus actual metal and what's happened there. Clearly there is some metal there. As you can see, it's all rust, but how much I don't know. That's what blasting's for, I suppose. The other concern though is this corner. So you can see in here, I can knock that off. Again, maybe paint, but oh, don't know. I have to do some very serious blasting to see what's going on here, but my worry is things like this. You know, you can't see a joint here anymore. It's just kind of a mess. And then the other thing, as I said before, you've got a small, you can really, that's much better. You can see it there, a little dent here. I mean, that could be anything. That could just be someone nudging the jacking up the wrong place, maybe. It's a bit of a weird place for it though, in some ways. But that's interesting. Although, weirdly, hasn't broken anything. So around to the front. The front looks in pretty good nick, really. It's all still painted because it was obviously covered in general. We had that bolt down there, but we talked about that. This is all looking fine. Yeah, there's a little bit of surface rust on some of these bits, but you know, that's fine. That'll come off, no worries. Again, down here, all looking okay. We get to this bit. Now this bit is where Sport Motive did a little bit of extra painting here and put some new heat proofing material this side to try and save it a bit longer because it was really cooked. And you can see where they put it all on. Still sounds very solid though. It looks an absolute state, but it sounds very solid. And they put a bit more kind of what they could get to anyway, because obviously they didn't have the body off. So it still doesn't look too bad. Obviously it looks mint under there, but it would do. It's nowhere near anything it is covered. I mean, I'll unclip all of these soon so that we can have a better look, but unsurprisingly under here, nothing doing really, because it's just handbrake, exhaust, etc. So it looks alright. So yeah, this is the main question that we need to answer right now. Maybe a bit more over there. It's funny it's that side though, the driver's side. You would have thought it would have been more this side, where it's in the gutter, but who knows. So there you go, quick run around. And then the only bit I didn't show you on the chassis, which I am a bit concerned about, is this one here. So it's looking pretty stressed and fractured in terms of paint. And attacked it yet with a screwdriver, but that's the opposite number to the death corner, so who knows.